Welcome back, guys. Now, this is a new section where we're going to be talking about the Shopify plans. Now, we've covered a massive amount here. I hope you've got a huge amount of knowledge now that you're really starting to appreciate. Go back through or just have a look at all those lectures that you've watched to get to this point. Particularly if you didn't know anything about Shopify, then you've gathered an enormous amount of information to date. And the way I've structured this course was to show you as much as I possibly could during the whole free trial period. Yeah. So this lecture is why do you need to choose a Shopify plan? And the why we need to do that is because we've kind of exhausted everything that we can do during this free trial period. The only thing that I haven't showed you, which I think is actually very self-explanatory, which we can still look at here, are the analytics. So if I click on this, we get a whole load of stats forever, right? Which are going to become more and more obvious once you build out your store. But total sales, visits, repeat customers, average order value, you name it, it's on here. You can customize this whole thing, all right? But you get the idea. So at least we can look at that. You've also got the ability to generate reports. If I click on reports. All right, sales by month, sales by day, acquisition, customers, behavior, all kinds of stuff. All right. I don't think I really need to explain this in detail to you on this course. It's pretty obvious that once you start selling, this information is going to become invaluable. Now, that basically then leads us to the point where there's not an awful lot more we can do. Now, if we click on the online store just to demonstrate that further, and I put a product in the cart over here, all right, already, and I go to the checkout, then you'll see the checkout is locked and I need to pick a plan in order to progress. So if we go back to here, my ability to look at my orders and my customers, the lifeblood of my store is basically blocked until I choose a plan, which is fair enough. We've looked at a massive amount here for free without any commitment whatsoever. So I'm now going to take you through the Shopify plans and give you the best advice on which are the ones that you should choose. Okay, I'll see you in a moment. All right, so let's have a look at these plans. What actually is Shopify offering us? Now, to get to the plan, it's not going to be that difficult because, as you've seen, the entire time we've got select a plan in our face, no mistake there. So all you got to do is click on the select a plan button. And here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it all into one page. So I hope you can see that nice and clearly. Now, what we have is the $29 a month plan, the $79 a month plan, and the $299 a month plan. Now, these different plans are going to reflect your situation or potentially your customer's situation, all right? So obviously your eye is drawn immediately to the price, but there is a little bit more to it than that, okay? So first of all, the transaction fees. That's a 2% transaction fee, okay? Here on the 29-month plan, 1% on the 79-month plan, and 0.5% on the 299 plan, okay? Now, if you do the maths, basically on this one here, if you're making over 5,000 a month in sales, which is, a very modest store, then you'd be better off with the 79-month plan because you get to save on the transaction fees. Equally, as you go forward to this 300, as you get bigger and bigger, the transaction fees are going to get less and less. Just in case you're wondering, the transaction fee is the fee that you are going to pay Shopify, all right? You may have other fees. I talked about Shopify payments before, but basically you may have other fees that you're going to have to pay, say PayPal, for example, but these are the fees that you are going to pay Shopify, all right? Now, the second thing to look at is staff accounts. And these are accounts that, let's say individual logins for people. So if you're a small business just starting out, 2 staff accounts, in other words, you and somebody else, it's probably going to be fine. But if you're running a big business, then you're going to need an awful lot more. And here we got 15, all right? The next thing to think about is the shipping discount. And this relates to buying and printing shipping labels, okay, as you can see when we hover over the little information bubble there. Now, if you're doing drop shipping, for example, and you're not involved with shipping labels, then this is not going to be relevant. But if you're running your own store, selling your own products, then this may be relevant. And so Shopify gives you an increased discount on your buying and printing of shipping labels as you go towards the more important plans. Now, the last thing is I just want to draw your attention to the text here, okay, in each one of these things. So this one is like just start selling your products on your secure and beautiful online store. Okay, fair enough. This one talks about getting more sales with features like gift cards, professional reports, fraud analysis tools, and abandoned cart recovery. Now, in my opinion, this one is the most important, the abandoned cart recovery, okay? Because 2/3 of people, believe it or not, when they get to the checkout, will leave without actually paying. And abandoned cart recovery is a massive part of e-commerce. Now, this abandoned cart recovery system built into it, okay? But that doesn't mean that on this cheaper plan that you can't install an abandoned cart recovery app, okay? We're going to talk about apps shortly, but basically as an add-on afterwards, if you buy this 29 plan, you can still get an abandoned cart recovery. Now, also in my experience, it's very difficult to find a free abandoned cart recovery, or a good one at least. So there's going to be an additional cost over here for abandoned cart recovery. So, arguably, by the time you've added in the abandoned cart recovery here, there's not much difference between perhaps these two plans. You also get the fraud analysis, which is quite nice. It's basically, enables you to assess prior to actually dispatching an order whether this is potential fraud, which is obviously also a big deal in e-commerce. And then you get gift cards and professional reports, which, in my opinion, nice to have, but not necessarily essential. And then as we move to the big one here, we've got an advanced report builder and third-party calculating shipping and all kinds of stuff here. So let's just step back from all of that just for a moment, because as I said right at the beginning, it depends so much on your situation. So my advice is that if you are a solopreneur, a one-man band, right, let's say, and you're just getting started in e-commerce, I would go for this 29-month plan, all right? And if you're advising somebody who's also in that situation, I would go with the 29-month plan, okay? If you're somebody who is already got, let's say, quite a bit of experience in e-commerce, you know a lot about it, you know that your Shopify store is going to be a success, pretty early on because you've got a ton of experience behind you, then I would go straight for the $79 plan, quite frankly, all right? And if you're clearly a big, well-established business, you're going to go over here to the $299 plan, all right? So those are your three options. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that all of these you can upgrade to and also downgrade from at any time. So let's say you take basic Shopify at 29, and then you think, do you know what? I really want that abandoned cart recovery tool available in the 79-month plan. You can simply upgrade. Or the other way around. You buy this and then you think, no, it's too expensive, yeah? Because I'm aware that $79 a month for a lot of people, that can be a big deal, yeah? I'm fully aware of that. So you might think, well, that's too expensive, I'm going to downgrade. So you can do all these things, yeah? It's a very, very nice, flexible system. So have a look at those, think about your situation or the customer that you're advising, their situation, and choose one of the plans. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the 79-month plan, all right? So I'm going to choose this plan, and then, it's just a question of putting in your credit card details. Now, what I would say for the billing cycle, I don't really see any reason why you would go for anything but bill me once a month for $79. Again, you're probably in a fluid situation, maybe just trying something out. Things change so quickly, you might want to upgrade, downgrade, etc. There's really not much point in paying for, let's say, 3 years in advance, I don't think, even though it's an option. Anyway, that's up to you. But anyway, go ahead, and once you've got your plan, put your details in there, and I'll see you on the other side once we've got that plan all set up. Okay, so now that we've chosen a plan, I just wanted to go back quickly and just have a look at our account again in our settings, just to see how that has actually changed, just so that you're familiar with it. So here I am again on the settings, all right? And let's click on account that we looked at before, because now that we've paid, of course, things have changed. So, I've got, for example, straight away up the top here, an account overview, when I started, the current plan that I'm on, and its status, which is great. And I also get the opportunity to upgrade should I want to. Now, you remember I took the Shopify plan, so if I click on upgrade here, it's going to take me to advanced Shopify, which, as I said before, is probably not necessary. But if you'd taken basic Shopify and you wanted to upgrade to Shopify at a later stage, then you can do that very, very easily. You've also got, as you go down here, your billing information, right? All that good stuff is here. If we go down a bit further, I've got my account owner and what have you, and the ability now to add in staff accounts. Remember I talked about whether you might need additional accounts for people to come in and manage your store. So that would happen here. You've also got your invoices, all right, which I don't have any yet, but come the right date, as you can see here, it says September the 22nd. It will appear down here, all right? So all of my invoices and all that good stuff is going to appear here. And finally, towards the bottom here, I get the chance, if I need to, for whatever reason, to pause my store and, let's hope this doesn't happen, but you also have the opportunity to close your store, okay? So I just wanted to draw your attention to how that's changed and how you can use it to very, very simply manage your account. Okay, so if you've gone ahead and chosen a plan, then you should be looking at a page like this now, okay, where it immediately starts to talk about adding your domain. You might remember that if we go back to the online store here, I mentioned that we'd looked at all these things except domain, yeah, and that we would come back to it. Well, this is what we're doing right now. So let's just go back to that page. Now, before we add domain, let's just go to the site, because it's currently hosted, as I showed you before, on what's called a subdomain of my Shopify. So it's called timsbargaindeals.myshopify.com. Now, you could carry on using this forever and not actually bother registering a domain, but it would really not be a good idea at all, okay? Because it doesn't give your site any kind of professional feel or whatsoever when it's basically hosted on a subdomain of my Shopify. And again, if you're advising somebody else, advise them to get their own domain, all right? And also, if you look at mine, I've called this site Dogadora. So it'd be nice to have, a Dogadora type domain as well, so it all ties in, dogadora.com. Actually, I've already got that registered, so I'm gonna have to do something else for this particular course. But you get the idea, right? timsbargaindeals.myshopify.com is not going to cut it in the world of e-commerce. So let's go back to the admin system. And we're going to click on here, add domain. Now, at this point, it's really important to know that you have two options, all right? You can buy a new domain, which is what this big blue button is here, and you've got connect existing domain, which is slightly less obvious for reasons that will become obvious in a moment, all right? Now, you can buy a new domain through Shopify, okay? So if I click on this, buy new domain, then all I need to do is basically start typing in my domain name here. So let's go for Dogadora 2, just because I had one basically registered already. So putting a number afterwards is not brilliant, but I hope you get the point of why I'm not using Dogadora, because I already have it for something else. But anyway, you would pick the name that best reflects your store, right? And you would come down here and it's immediately going to show you the pricing, okay? So for $14 a year, so a little over $1 a month, I can have Dogadora 2 as my domain name, and then my site will be hosted at dogadora2.com, all right? Now that's fine, but the problem with this is that Shopify does not have, and I just really don't understand why, they do not have a proper email service, okay, behind them. And a lot of people get kind of confused as well. They feel like, or they think that when they buy a domain, that they're also buying email, all right? But with Shopify, what happens is you buy the domain, and then you kind of get like sort of a fake email in a way, because your email will be forwarded on to your own address, right? The email that you currently set up. So let me just explain that in a bit more detail. So say I went ahead and registered dogodora2.com with Shopify. Then I would have an email which was, let's say, contact@dogodora2.com, but it will be automatically forwarded on to my private email address every time. Okay, so it's an email forwarding service, not an actual email service, and it's really important to understand that difference. I hope you understand. So what happens is, as emails come in from your Shopify store, they get forwarded to your personal address, and you're going to end up replying with your personal address, and it's going to get mixed up with other emails that you might have personally. Now, there are better ways of organizing it, but I'm just trying to give you a helicopter view here. But basically, that's what's going to happen. And I just don't feel, in my opinion, when I give people my professional advice, I don't think that's an ideal solution. So that's when I tend to gravitate towards the second option, which is to connect to an existing domain. So basically what this means is that you will go and register your domain with another provider. Yeah, there's many providers out there that, you know, where you can buy domains from. You've probably done it yourself already at some point. And then you can connect that domain in to Shopify. And the great thing about that is that you know, for $2 or $3 a month, you're going to pay for a domain and have email, proper setup, professional email that you can really build a store on. You know, make no mistake, email is probably going to be the lifeblood of your business, at least in the beginning. Despite all these other gazillions of ways of communicating these days, email is still super important. So having a great email system is definitely advisable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I would connect an existing domain, because whether you do it or not, it's good to know how this works. Now, there are a few steps involved, but once you've done it, you know, you're basically set up professionally. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the next lecture. Okay, so first off, if you've registered your domain name with Shopify, then the next 4 lectures are not going to apply to you. So you can simply skip the next 4 lectures and go to the lecture where I talk about adding emails to the Contact Us page. But if you're still with me, that means that you're interested in setting up email in what I consider to be the correct way, which is with an external host. Now, this is pretty straightforward to do, and of course I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do step by step, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about in the coming lectures. Now, in terms of cost, there is a small additional cost compared to doing it with Shopify, perhaps $1 or $2 per month, but I really consider that investment worthwhile to get it all set up in a more professional manner. So which external hosting company should you use from the probably tens of thousands of companies out there offering their services? Well, in my 20 plus years experience, I've probably seen the good, the bad and the ugly of several hundred, and there is one in particular that I use a lot, and I will recommend them to you in the next lecture. Now, before I do that, I do want to say that you can use any external host you want. If you've got your favorite, go for that. If you've got one that you're using already, then by all means use that as well. But if you want to take my recommendation, I can guarantee they're a very good company, very fast. The support is excellent, which I think is something that a lot of people overlook, particularly when you get into problems. Super cheap hosting companies generally offer very poor support. So the support is excellent, and I can also get you a small discount on the hosting package itself. Okay, so first off, if you've registered your domain name with Shopify through their process, then the next 3 lectures are not going to apply to you, all right? So you can just skip through the next 3 and go straight to the part where I talk about adding email addresses to your contact page. Now, if you're still with me, then that means that you're keen to set up the email, what I consider to be the correct way, with an external host. This is pretty straightforward to do. It costs $1 or $2 more per month than perhaps what Shopify are suggesting. But in my view, you know, the price of a cup of coffee per month is well worth it to get the email set up in what I consider to be a more professional way. Now, you can set it up with any external host you want. But I work, if you've done my other courses, you'll know that I work with tmdhosting.com, which is a company that I've worked with for a long time. I find them excellent. I find their support very, very good, and they never let me down. So I recommend them. And also, I can get you a 7% discount on their normal package prices. So yeah, but entirely up to you. If you want to go with another external hosting company, then go for it. But otherwise, let's crack on. I'll show you exactly how to get your domain name. And then in the following lecture, we'll look at actually how to set up email on that domain name. Okay, let's go over to tmdhosting.com. Okay, so hopefully you've made your way over to tmdhosting.com, where I'm going to show you how to get your domain and set up your email. Now, what will often happen when you come to this site is a little sales agency thing will pop up here. You can ignore that because I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. So just minimize him, Frank, or whoever it is today, and let's crack on. So the first thing to do is go up here to their menu and go to web hosting. And then scroll down, and what you want to take is their cheapest option, their starter pack, starting at $285 per month. All right, and also just want you to draw your attention to the fact there is a money back guarantee here of 60 days as well. Okay, so this is basically zero risk. Click on sign up, and the next thing you'll need to do is just to check to see if the domain name you want is there. Now, at this stage, I wouldn't get bogged down in trying to think up what your domain name might be, okay? Because this part of the course is all about a general store. Later on, I'll get into the whole niche store aspect of things, which is actually where more exciting money is. But we're basically talking about a general store and teaching you all the concepts on this general store. So just come up with a name, your name, Hot Deals, or something like that. You've seen me using Tim's Hot Deals the whole way through this thing. Some sort of generic name like that you can use and play with. Now, just obviously type into here the name you're looking for. So I'm going to go with Tim's Hot Deals 2. I do already have Tim's Hot Deals, okay? So Tim's Hot Deals 2, and I will just click on proceed. The wheels will turn, and there we go. Congratulations, it's available. Obviously, if it's not available for the one that you've chosen, you're going to have to go back and pick another one. So anyway, here we are. Now all you need to do is fill in this form here. It's all pretty straightforward stuff, right? Fill in your various bits and pieces, your payment option. Pick a data center that's close to you. It's defaulting to Amsterdam for me because I live in France, but you may well be elsewhere. And then pick a period, whatever it might be. Okay, it's defaulting to 12 months here. Now, domain privacy is up to you, whether it's on by default. It just means that if somebody goes to look up your domain name, if you do have domain privacy, they can't see who is actually behind it. I think at this stage it's really not a big deal, so I don't see the point of paying for that. So I would take that off. And then all you need to do then is put in my promo code to get your 7% discount. And the promo code is success today. Okay, so SUCCESS today. All right, and then just click on apply, and you'll see the price drop by another 7%, and confirmation this promo code gives you 7% off this purchase. So brilliant. So after that, it's just I agree, and then head to the checkout. And then after a few moments, you should be looking at your order confirmation screen. So congratulations, you registered your domain name. Now just click on where it says click here to go to your client area. Click on that. We can just click on maybe later. We're not interested in that right now. And in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to set up email. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, fantastic. So with your domain name chosen, you should be looking at a page, something like this. Okay, there's a ton of stuff on here. We don't have to worry about almost any of it. So that's the good news. If you're looking for your bill, the thing you've just paid for, it'll be over here in the billing. But otherwise, what I'd like you to do is to go to services and click on my services. And then from here, you're going to have something that looks like this with the product you just bought with a manage product button over here. I'd like you to click on that button. scroll down until you see cPanel. So simply click on that. So you now get another page opens up with all kinds of amazing icons. Don't get overwhelmed, just scroll down till you see email, all right, and then click on email accounts. Now, this is where you set up an email account. So basically, I need to choose a domain, but for you, there's probably just one available because I have a lot of domains. So I've chosen my dogadora2.com, all right, but probably this is just defaulting to one single one for you, all right. So imagine you want to set up a domain, just a simple contact, for example. So contact@dogadora2.com, just for example, all right. So what we want to do is basically generate the password. It's always a good thing to do, okay? So click on the generate password button and then take the password that it generates. Click on I have copied it to a safe place, all right? And then click on use password and you'll get a very strong 100 out of 100, which is absolutely perfect. Then all you need to do is click on create account, all right? You see account created, okay, with the password that you had, and there she will appear then down in this list. So again, I've got lots and lots of emails, but here is the one for the Dogadora right here, okay? So having done that, what you could do, and it's entirely up to you, you could go and create multiple email accounts, all right? There's no limit on the number of email accounts you can create, and you can see how quick and easy it is to do. You just need to make sure you note that password as you do it. Now, to access the webmail, I'm now back here on my TND area, and this is where we just clicked on the cPanel. And over here on the right, all we need to do is click on webmail. And it will open up this page where we can basically log in, all right, to our webmail for the first time. So I had contact@dogadora2.com, put in there my email address and log in. Now, the first time you do this, and it is only the first time, what you want to do is click on this got it thing, and then you have some 3 different default webmail applications you can use, right? Just 3 different sort of, ways of viewing your mail, that's all. Click on round cube, excuse me, and basically what you'll do is you'll come straight into this webmail configuration, a nice little welcome email all set up. And that is it. You can now compose an email. All right. You can send it from your contact us to whoever it is going to be. And you can manage all the email professionally from your site. All right. Very, very straightforward. Okay. And as I say, you can set that up for as many email addresses as you want. So the last thing we need to do now is to connect that domain name that we registered with TMD, or the host that you've hosted with, back into Shopify to make sure now that the whole thing works exactly as we want. All right, so I'll see you in the next lecture. Okay guys, brilliant. You have registered your domain with TMD or whoever it might be. And what we now need to do is to connect that domain with our Shopify store. So if you're wondering what I mean by that, what I mean is that if we go to the store now, okay, there's our store on our subdomain. What I need to be able to do here is to type in my case, www.dogadora2.com, and it would bring up my store. Now, if I pull that up now, you will see that it brings up not the store, just that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that to make it pull up the store. Now this is a little bit technical, a tiny bit fiddly, but it's not complicated at all right? So I've got your back. You just follow my lead and you're going to be absolutely fine, okay? So what you need to do first of all is to go back to the admin, come down to the online store, and go to domains. And then we're going to click on Connect Existing Domain down here, okay? So click on that, and what you'll need to do now is to type in the actual name of your domain that you just bought. So in my case, dogadora2.com, okay? So you'd put in whatever your domain is there, and then click on Next. Now, what I want you to do then is to click on this nice this blue button here that says follow the instructions. So click on that, follow the instructions. Right, now there's a whole load of instructions here, but do not worry. The thing that I want you to focus on or just grab is this thing here. Okay, this is an IP address for your store. You really don't need to do anything much about it, but just copy it. There's even a nice little copy icon. You just click on that. Okay, so that is now copied. I hope you can see that. So I've basically copied this IP address that sits up in the top here. All right, so having got that, we now need to go over to our client area. And then I just need you to locate that cPanel button, as we've done a couple of times now already. If you've forgotten where it is, it's up here in My Services, all right? So once you've got that, just click on it. Now, all these wonderful icons pop up again, but this time we want to go down to the Zone Editor, okay? See that? DNS Zone Editor. So just look for that. Now click on that, and up pops some records. Now I'm just going to make this a tiny bit bigger, make it a little bit easier for you. So what you want to do now is find your domain in the list of domains. Now you should only have one, so that's going to make it a lot easier. So just find the one you're looking at. So I'm talking about dogadora2.com, yeah? And go over here to the end here and click on Manage. And then click on A, all right? Now, it's almost certainly going to be the first one that pops up in the list here, dogadora2.com, but it should be your domain, okay? And then come over to the right-hand side here and click on Edit. Now, what we want to do is change this number in here, and we're going to change it to the IP address I asked you to copy before. So if we just go back to that, yeah, I'm talking about these instructions here. It was this IP address, right? 23.227.38.32. If I go back here, all right, you see that that's the one I've pasted in. So save record. Okay, first step done. One more step to do. So for the next bit, we want to click on CNAME. Okay, so click on CNAME this time. Find your www, okay, .domainname.com, not mail, not FTP, but www.dogadora.com, and then come over here again to edit. And here what we're going to do now in here is put in shops.myshopify.com. All right, simple as that. And now just click on save record. Brilliant. Right, we are done with that stuff. Okay, I hope you found that reasonably straightforward to follow. Now, what we want to do now is go back to our admin system. Okay, so this is the page where we first kicked off the follow instructions a few minutes ago. And here you'll see a verify connection. So click on that. A nice little graphic comes up while it verifies all kinds of good stuff. And bingo, domain successfully connected. So let's go over to where it was previously showing this page. Yeah, you remember I typed in dogadora.2.com at a few minutes ago, hit return, and it came up with this, which is not what we want. But now when I refresh, I get a site. Now we're not quite there yet because this is password protected, but you can already see that it's pointing to dogadora2.com. Now, if this doesn't happen for you immediately, you might need a little bit of patience. Sometimes it can take up to 24 hours for it to propagate, okay? But you might need a little bit of patience, but typically it's pretty quick, right? If not immediate. So there we go. So what I want to do now, so we can make sense of this, get to the store that we actually built, is just get into the store with our password. So if I click on enter using password up here, it prompts me for the password. Now, I don't know if you remember, but several lectures ago now, we were on the preferences. Okay, I've just gone over here. I've gone straight down to the store and preferences. And what I can do is I can password protect the page or not. And at the moment, that's clicked on, enable password page. So I'll take that off. I will click on save. And now I will refresh again. And there we go. That looks familiar, right? That's our store. And rather than being on that funny subdomain of the with the .myshopify and all that, we are now on the domain that we actually want, dogadora2.com. Absolutely fantastic. So all connected up perfectly. Now, just a couple of housekeeping points before we progress. Going back to this preferences page now, we see that this homepage title, whereas I had Tim's Bargain Deals was just my name that I put in during the trial period, I'll now want to change that, yeah? Ideally, I want to now call it Dogadora. And let's just say, get the best daily dog deals in town, all right? So click on save there. Okay, now see here up in this tab where it says Tim's Bargain Deals, if I refresh this now, it changes to Dogadora, all right? And then the last thing to do is just in the settings, go to General, and we had this business here as well. I just want to change my store name in here to Adora. Save that, and we are all done. Fantastic, guys. I'll see you in the next lecture. Okay, so now we've got email set up. We now need to link it properly to our store, okay? And this is really just a question of doing a bit of housekeeping. It's pretty straightforward. If you go down to Settings, and you go to General, then draw your attention to this bit here. You have an account email, and you also have a customer email, all right? Now, notice that, you know, these are just emails that I set up when I first started doing my trial with this whole thing. But now I have proper email. Yeah, I've got dogadora2.com. So, you know, I would want my account email and my customer email really to be based around dogadora2.com. It just makes sense, or whatever your domain is, yeah? Particularly for this one, because this is the email that your customers are going to see when they get an email from you. So an order confirmation, for example, coming from your site should definitely have the domain in there. So think about those two emails and what you would actually put in. But, you know, it's highly likely that you would need to change that. Now, the other area to consider is the Contact Us page. So if I go down to the online store, go to Pages and to the Contact Us. Now, there's sort of two ways of doing this, really, in my view. We looked at this page.contact suffix, which I'm sure you remember. If we go now to have a look at that, if I just click on View here, then do you remember it was this kind of form here that we could put up for nothing? Now, when somebody fills that in, okay, you're going to get an email on that email address that we would set up in the settings that I just showed you, okay? Now, it's important that you receive that on the correct email, dogadora2.com, because you might reply to it, and therefore it wants to come from dogadora2.com, okay? So I hope that's clear. Now, the other way you could do it is that you could not have this template suffix. You could just go with a page, simple page, all right? And, you know, if I click on this save here now and refresh this, then this obviously doesn't really make any sense anymore. But what I could do here, back here in this bit here, I could take this out and I could say, please contact us on the appropriate email below, all right? And then I could do things like, and this is what I typically do, I'll have a sales at address, yeah? Your domain name. I'll have a billing at and a support at. So within my TMD hosting area, a client area, or whatever you're using, you can very easily, I showed you how to set up one email, they're all very, very simple, set up 3 emails in that respect, and then I can divide my emails up nicely, and when people contact me in that appropriate way, I can reply as well. It just helps me organize my business. Now, what I'm showing you in this lecture is kind of the way I do it, all right, but it's certainly not what you have to do. So I just really want to, you know, for you to think about how to use email in the best possible way now that you have it properly set up for your site. Okay, absolutely fantastic, guys. Now, the last bit of knowledge that you need to know before we move on to the next section is the subject of security, or in this case, SSL, right? SSL, you may or may not have heard of SSL. It stands for Secure Sockets Layer. Not that that's necessarily important, but the thing is that you want to be sure that your site is secure, or more importantly, your customers want the feeling that your site is secure, all right? Now, the good news is that there is nothing to do here, okay? I'm just literally going to show you something. So if I click on the little I to go to the online store, I draw your attention to the top here, right? Already it says secure. We have a little padlock. We have HTTPS included, all right? If I click on this, then it says secure connection. Your information, for example, passwords or credit card numbers, is private when it is sent to this site, all right? So we're working on a secure server, and that is by default, because we have it hosted on the Shopify servers, right? Even though I register the domain name elsewhere, the fact that we have it hosted on the Shopify servers means that we have a secure site built in. And it's super, super important for customer confidence, right? You know, obviously when we're making payments over the internet, encrypting data is very, very important. Arguably, just for the home page, it's not necessarily so important, but it gives that customer the sense of security. So nothing to do. SSL is installed by default with Shopify, and you have a secure site. Okay, guys, welcome back. Now we've reached another great milestone. You know, again, congratulations if you got to this stage. You know, I really hope that your confidence is now, you know, getting very, very high, and that you're seeing how easy and simple Shopify is. You know, I don't want to repeat myself, but maybe in the beginning, you know, you're kind of intimidated by this whole thing. And as we go through, you know, this is my job here, I feel, is to, you know, is to make you feel super comfortable with this really fantastic tool. So here we are now on orders. You know, we've got everything set up now. We have chosen a plan so people can actually order off of our site or off of the site you are designing. And on the subject of design, you know, I hope by this stage also, you know, you spent quite a bit of time tinkering with that home page, making the site look really, really good. We're going to get into apps in a bit, which is going to help also improve the sort of the functionality of your site as well. So we're not done by any stretch. But, you know, this course isn't an amazing design course on Shopify. It's far more functional than that, teaching you how it actually all works, right? So, you know, but I hope you've been back. You've got a great looking logo and your site is really starting to look very, very cool. Anyway, so here we are on orders. Now, when it comes to e-commerce, 99% of our orders are going to come through the site. That's just kind of the way it is, yeah? Now, Shopify, of course, does allow you to take orders over the phone and things like that, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. But I'm going to focus on that website order and just demonstrate to you how it works. Very, very simple, right? So what I've done here is I've chosen this this squeaky chew toy thing for this dog, okay? In case you're getting a bit freaked out by that, it's just this funny thing here, right, that the dog puts in its mouth. I'm sure you've, well, I don't know whether you have seen something like that, but there you go. That's what it does. Kind of makes me laugh, so I put that in there as an example. So all we're going to do is add to the cart, right, and I'm going to move now to the checkout. Now, I should say straight away that I have integrated PayPal, okay? Just a very quick, simple integration with my PayPal account, my existing one. And I hope you've had the opportunity to add in some sort of payment provider, yeah? Be it Shopify Payments or Stripe or PayPal or indeed any other, all right? And you've managed to sort of get to this point where the customer has the opportunity to buy through one of your payment providers. So there we go. PayPal is the chosen one. If there were other ones up here, then they would show, right? So the customer would have a choice which way to go. But this is then very, very simple. I mean, you know, I suspect that most of the people doing this course have bought something off the web at some point. So I'm not going to patronize you by going through all of this, but it's simply, you know, the customer information and the shipping address, right? Very, very easy. And what I've done is I went back and I set my shipping to basically be free, so that when I click on continue to shipping method, all right, I had a couple of different shipping methods in there, but basically you can see that shipping is free. And I would generally advise you to put in free shipping, because one of the big turnoffs when people get to the checkout, as I said before, is, you know, sort of surprise additional stuff, surprise taxes, surprise shipping, all this kind of stuff. A lot of people run away at that point. So I would strongly advise you to go for free shipping as much as you can. So, you know, I'm going to now continue to the payment method. Now, this is effectively, although I'm showing you how an order would work and what happens, I do this process with my various sites, or get people, you know, to basically help me do this process, because as a sort of a test order, okay? I do a test order periodically. And the reason why I'm telling you that is it's great advice to make sure that your website is working from A to Z, right? Or A to Z, depending on where you're from. You'd be amazed the number of people that contact me and say, I'm having trouble with my site. People aren't buying from me. I'm getting lots of add to carts. Nothing's happening, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say to them, well, have you, in the very first instance, checked to make sure that people can genuinely buy from your site? And they'll go through and, in some cases, more than you might think, people come back and realize that actually their payment provider isn't working in the way they thought it was. So it's a great idea as well to, as I'm showing you just a simple order process, to factor into your whole business periodic test orders, right? So as I click on continue to payment method here, then in this instance, it's proposing me PayPal, and I will then go straight through to complete order. So I'm now going to make that order, and I'll see you on the orders page and show you exactly how that's going to look. Okay, so I made the order, and here I am back on my admin screen as usual, and I've clicked on orders, and it's taken me straight to this. All right, so I've got my one order in here. All right, I've got an order number, I've got a date, I've got me, I was the customer that it got sent to, I paid for it, but currently it's unfulfilled. Unfulfilled basically meaning that we haven't sent anything, if you like, to the customer yet. So we've taken the money, but we haven't sent them anything. So there's still stuff to do, still stuff to fulfill. So this is a pretty straightforward process. Let's just click on the actual order number. And it takes you to this, far more involved screen here. Now just ignore this, all right, because I'm doing the course here, so I'm going to ignore the PayPal instructions. But basically what we have here, this is what I want you to focus on, right, is that you have exactly what they ordered, all right, how much the shipping was going to be, it's all done, right? I have the opportunity now to refund, and I was talking about test orders before. If this was a test order, I'd simply refund myself, right? That's just that's great confirmation that my whole process worked. But typically, if you've got a customer who's bought something on your site, you're not going to refund, okay? You're going to start fulfilling. But just before I click on that button, let me just show you a little bit more around the rest of this page. So first of all, me, the customer, a bit more information there if I were to click on it, my email address, my shipping address, the billing address, right? It's all, they could be different, and in this case it is. I made them slightly different just for from the point of view of just making an example. Then there's a timeline, okay, of what I actually did. So I actually did, although you didn't see it in the course, I did it twice because I wanted to just show you how things can build up, right? So I placed the order, then I was unable to authorize it, then it was processed, and then there was an order confirmation sent to me, an order confirmation email sent to me. So I actually got an order confirmation email on my email address 8 minutes ago. And just to remind you, when we went back into the settings there, do you remember where we looked at all those different emails that have been set up that were automatically sent out, for example, when an order was fulfilled? So you will see if you do this, you will also get the email, and you'll see that it corresponds with exactly how it's set up. So, this is great stuff. So also a conversion summary, which is great. Yeah, this is their first order. First visit was direct to your store, 4 visits over 4 days, right? So you start to sort of build up a little bit of customer history here, and as to how much they convert if not. And then fraud analysis. I'm going to come back to this in a moment because it's not available with all the Shopify plans. So we'll leave that to one side. So if we go up to start fulfilling, all right, because that's obviously the next thing you've got to do when you receive the money is to fulfill the order. So if you click on start fulfilling, then this process is going to depend hugely on how you are set up. Now, I do a lot of drop shipping, which means that the supplier is not me, right? It's somebody in China or elsewhere who's going to ship directly. So I will just simply, often just mark as fulfilled and then fulfill the items, which again is going to trigger a second email that's going to say, your product has been shipped. All right, so that would be more of a drop shipping type model. Okay, just a very, very quick basic overview there, because as I said before, not everybody in this course is going to be doing drop shipping. You might be shipping your own products, in which case you're more going to be over here. You're going to have to create shipping labels, all right? And this is going to be more involved. So if we scroll down here, we've got information about, the package and the weight that might be involved with actually shipping this thing. If we go over to here, obviously I've got the shipping address that I need to go to, even a map of where that might actually be. All right. My shipping first class package costs with a discount depending on your Shopify plan. Okay. And I could buy a shipping label. All right, I could buy a shipping label through this whole thing, whack it on my box and send it out. All right. Then as we go down towards the bottom of this page, I've got different shipping options that I can choose. Okay, I can edit the address if I need to, and then there's a whole load of stuff about customs declarations and of course when it actually ships. So basically, that's not to completely overwhelm you with information. The takeaway here is that Shopify has accounted for everything, right? When it comes to fulfilling an order, no matter what the model you might be doing, Shopify has you covered. Now, as I said to you before, with e-commerce, typically 99% of your sales are going to come through the site itself, and that has huge advantages, right? First of all, you don't have to man some sort of customer order center, right? People can buy from you at any time, anywhere in the world. That's obviously the massive advantage of e-commerce and the internet in general. But you might want to take a phone order for whatever reason, however your business model is set up. And just to basically point out that Shopify has you covered for that as well. So I'm back here on the orders page here, and I'm just going to click on create order. And you're presented with this page where you can basically take an order manually. So, there's several scenarios here, but let's just imagine that somebody's phoned up and they're looking for that squeaky toy. Okay, so the first thing you'd want to do is search for the product on the site. Okay, so I click in search product. I start searching for squeaky. Okay, soft, great fun squeaky chew toy. Perfect. So we select that and add to the order, right? So now the order pops up. This is exactly what it is. I can email them the invoice, okay? And if I had fully set up with a credit card system here, I could take a credit card payment over the phone, mark as pending or mark as paid, right? But basically you can see very, very easy to take that order. You might also, of course, as your list of customers grows, Mrs. Whatever phones up, and you can basically put that information in here and pull that back out. So you've got like a CRM type system, a basic one built in, a customer relationship management system, if you don't know what CRM means. But basically we've all phoned up somewhere and they appear to know who we are, right? Although they don't really know who we are. But it makes us feel good. It's an important feature. So yeah, you can basically find customers and therefore find past orders and start to build a relationship with your customer in that way. So yeah, this is great. So just to show you that you can very, very easily take orders in an alternative manner if you're not taking all of your orders directly over your website. So in this lecture, I just want to take a moment to talk about fraud analysis, okay? And I skipped over it in a couple of lectures ago because unless the person has or you have the Shopify plan, you're not actually going to see this feature, which is a nice feature. It's one of the ways they tempt you into that Shopify plan, if you like. But whether you've got it or not, this course is a deep dive into Shopify, so it's important that you know about it nevertheless. So I'm on my orders page, all right, and let me go to that order that I placed myself. And we're going to scroll down a bit to this fraud analysis. Okay, now the whole purpose of this is, sadly, the world is not perfect and people do commit fraud on site. It's just a matter of fact, stolen credit cards, whatever it might be. And Shopify uses their own kind of algorithm to give you an idea before you ship that order. Because if you ship something and then it turns out to be a fraudulent purchase, you potentially, could stand to lose some money. So it gives you some idea as to whether, the payment that was just made is of low, medium, or high risk. Okay, it's just kind of advice, if you like. Advice of whether you take it or not, that's up to you. Basically, it's decided, and I would expect it to be this way, it's decided that I am low risk, okay? So I'm very pleased with that. But, it might be pointing out this person is high risk for whatever reason. Now, if you click on View Full Analysis, you get all kinds of indicators, all right, to help you make that assessment yourself to a certain extent. So you've got characteristics of this order are similar to non-fraudulent orders observed in the past, okay? Whatever it might be, there's a whole 2 attempts, Shipping address is 1 mile from the location of the IP address. You can imagine stuff like that is useful to know. Now, you're not necessarily going to get into this every single time you place an order. If you've got hundreds and hundreds of orders coming through your site every day, you're not going to perhaps take a deep dive each time into the fraud analysis and decide whether or not to ship or not. But it's definitely a very, very useful tool should you need it, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Now, the subject of abandoned cart is a very, very, very important one when it comes to e-commerce, because 2/3 of people, believe it or not, will actually abandon the checkout without paying. So you've done all this great effort to get them to your store, and then 2/3 will leave without paying. So the process of recovering the cart, of bringing them back to your store to actually complete the payment, is super, super important. It really does have a massive, massive effect on the bottom line. I can't overemphasize that. Now, there are a whole host of reasons why people might abandon the cart, all right? But the two main ones typically are that you've added on extra charges at the checkout, all right? So they think it's $10, but when they get there, there's sales tax, there's shipping, there's whatever, all right? And now it's 20. So they will then leave for that reason. It's just a psychological switch that people can't deal with, and they just run away, all right? That happens a lot. That's the number one reason why people will abandon a cart. So I encourage you, as I've said before several times on this course, to absorb those costs into the cost of your product. Yeah, you're much better off making the cost of your product 20 and not actually adding anything on in this example. And the other reason is that you will force them, or you're forcing them, to make a customer account before they actually check out. Now, Amazon can get away with that because they're a global brand, but you as a small store that's potentially not known, forcing them to make a customer account is a sure way for them to run away. But there could be a host of other reasons. They might be on your site just doing a bit of research. The phone might ring. It could be a whole load of stuff, all right? So let's just see how an abandoned cart would actually happen. Okay, so I'm on my site. I'm going to buy this Don't Mess With Me collar, all right? So I'm going to click on Add to Cart and then go to the checkout. Right, and here we have the typical information that we need to fill in that we saw before. Now, I'm going to fill in my email address here. But what you need to know is that primarily abandoned cart recovery software works off of the email address, right? You need that person's email address to be able to contact them and tempt them back into your store. You'll see how that works in a minute. But, I need to fill in that email. So if they haven't got the email, they haven't got to the point of putting in their email, then you kind of, it's going to be difficult to get back to them. So let me put in my email address. Then I'm going to continue to the shipping method. And then let's say at this point, right, I get put off because, I've got free shipping in here, but I get put off because I got extra charges, or you're asking me to create an account, or the phone rings, or, right? So for whatever reason, I leave the site now, okay? So let's now go back to the Shopify admin and see how that looks. So here I am back on the Shopify system, of course, and I've clicked on abandoned checkouts, abandoned carts, but carts both mean the same thing, right? So I've got a couple here at the moment, and as your store develops, this will build up. I absolutely guarantee it, okay? So imagine we got this one here, which is the one we just looked at that we want to deal with, all right? So I'm going to click on this. And what I want to do, obviously, is to recover this cart. Now, what I have here straight off the bat is a link. All right, this link, if I send that to somebody, if I email that to them, then when they click on it, they are going to come straight back to their cart. So the only thing they have to do is pay. That's it. So I'm sure you can see the power of that straight away. All right. Now I can click on send a cart recovery email straight away. All right, and there's a to who it's going to go to, which is obviously the customer's name. I can't edit that, but where it's from, we talked about before about putting in the proper email address of your store. Okay, there's a subject by default, complete your purchase, but you could put in some sort of custom message in here to bring them back. All right, and you could ping that off, which would be absolutely perfect. The other thing you can do is automate the whole process so that you don't have to keep on coming in here and constantly doing this manually, because trust me, when your store's up and running and you're doing well, you're not going to have an enormous amount of time for this. But what I'm about to show you now is really only available in the Shopify plan, okay, the one I took. So what I can do is, if I click on this, adjust your checkout settings. Now, if I come down here, you will see this part here, order processing. Okay, we looked at this stuff before when we were in the settings before, so you might want to go back and remind yourself. But this has all the stuff that we need to know when the customer is currently processing their order, including if the customer abandons their checkout. All right. Now, the beauty of this is it then says, send them an email reminder to complete their order, and then within some sort of time delay. All right. This is email based. As I said, without their email, you are stuck. But, you know, basically this is now enormously powerful. So I can send them an email never, which is kind of defeats the object, or 24 hours later, or anything in between. Now, in my experience, I would definitely recommend going for 1 hour, right? You want to get them back in. You don't want them going off forgetting about stuff. You know, you want to keep them while they're still a hot customer. It's so important. You don't want to have to wait 24 hours. They'll have forgotten about it by then or have moved on to something else. So you can also customize your abandoned checkout notifications, yeah, in your notifications part of your settings that we again looked at before. You know, you could basically derive your own type of email that you want to send out. But quite frankly, certainly in the beginning, I think just accepting what Shopify proposes is perfect. So if I just discard this for the moment and go back to my abandoned cart. All right, so there really is not an awful lot more to it than that. Obviously, I've got, you know, details about the product and when it was abandoned and who abandoned it and all that kind of thing. But if you really want to make this work, you need to delve into a more automated process. So as I say before, that automated process is available with the Shopify plan, the one I just showed you, with sending out the emails, hopefully an hour afterwards, all right? But later on, we'll look at some apps as well that will do similar stuff. This is a hot topic, and therefore there are many providers producing some really great products. So now that we've had a look at orders, I do feel it's important that you realize that you can actually customize the checkout page, all right? And this will vary depending on themes, but the underlying principles are exactly the same. Now, you may or may not want to do this, but I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that you can. I think there's one thing in particular that you should do, and I'll show you in a moment. But in order to change the look and feel of the checkout page, you need to go to your theme and click on Customize as usual. And then go to the general settings and scroll down towards the bottom and you will see checkout. All right, so click on checkout. Now here I have the opportunity to change various things. Now before I change anything, let's just go and have a look and see what the checkout actually looks like. So here I am, right? This is absolutely fine. There's really nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly laid out. It's pretty clear exactly what the customer needs to do, right? There's no real confusion or anything like that. So we really are just talking about look and feel. Now, the thing that I find that I like to change is this part here, right? This part here where it just says Doggadora now. In other words, the logo has gone. The logo has disappeared. So that's just the way it works, but we do have the opportunity to reinstate that logo. So if I come over here and I scroll down a bit, I've got the opportunity to put a logo in. So if I select my logo as usual and hit save, then when I refresh, you notice that it's very small, right? That is almost illegible. So what you'll probably need to go and do is to create a slightly different, a slightly larger logo, maybe remove the text at the bottom that you can't see anymore at all. Whatever you think, in order to actually make that logo show up, and then go and have a look and see how it looks on mobile, most importantly, to make sure that that process works seamlessly as well. Now, if we go back here and go up a little bit, then, you know, I can do things like put in a background image on the banner. I can go down here, I can put a background image on the main content area. You know, if I do this, I mean, I just select some image at random here, the one we use for the home page, just to demonstrate. So click save there, go back, refresh, and now we have this image repeating throughout. Now, in my view, that's a mess. And generally speaking, I would say anything that sits behind in forms of some sort of image, you might think it kind of brands it, you might think it sort of gives it a bit more sort of a nice look and feel about it, but quite frankly, I think it distracts. Generally, I think it distracts. I don't think it's worth trying to fiddle around with any of this stuff. So I would actually remove that and save it. And then for the other options, such as the form fields, I would keep that white. As I go down a bit here, I can change things like the fonts and various colors. But for me, if you think about it, if you go back to the checkout here, I was saying before this already looked great, apart from the logo obviously being too small. But if you think about it, designers of this theme, Shopify in general, this is a key point, right? When somebody gets to the checkout, this is a key design moment. So what they're going to offer you by default is more than likely going to be 95% of what actually works. And it's really therefore not worth fiddling around with extensively, unless you have a customer that has a particularly strong feeling about something, or it's your own store and you have a strong feeling about it. Then at least you can actually customize the experience. So something else you can add at the checkout is a discount code, the opportunity for the customer to put in a discount code, right? I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of discounts, as a way to bring in people obviously to a store, and Shopify caters for this in a very simple and powerful fashion, as you might expect. So I'm over here on discounts on the main menu, and I'm just going to click on the create discount button. And you'll see exactly how this works, okay? So obviously you've got the concept of the discount code itself. You might generate your own name, something memorable, whatever it might be, as part of your campaign, or you can get Shopify to generate that for you by clicking on generate code. And then, you've got your various options. So your discount type, so if we look at those, you've got a percentage discount. It could be a fixed amount, it could be free shipping, and then some sort of percentage value. Yeah, again, that's going to link into whatever campaign you've been running. You can then apply that to the entire order, or just selected collections or selected products, entirely up to you. So you have, considerable power over where that's going to be applied. Then you can decide which customers are going to be eligible. So it could be everyone or anyone basically visiting your store, or you could have a select group of customers, existing customers. So if I click on that, I could search for groups of customers. So I might want to bring back, 100 previous customers by offering them a discount code for a particular product that I felt that I could upsell really easily. And by giving them a 10% discount or something like that, I could create a very nice campaign and generate some revenue very, very quickly. So that's an opportunity there that you have. Then as we move down a little bit further, there's the usage limits, so the number of times that the discount code can be used and whether it's limited to one use per customer, etc. All the normal stuff that you would expect associated with discount codes. And of course, to finish off, when the whole campaign is going to be active. So there you go. I hope that's very, very simple, very straightforward to understand. But yeah, you have a very nice system for offering discount codes within your store. Okay, so now we've got a great understanding and appreciation of what orders are all about. It makes sense just to jump over to customers, right? And just have a look at how Shopify manages that for us. And, it's no surprise that they've got a great section here that basically enables us to sort of keep track of our customers as they come in. So I've just clicked on the customers bit here, obviously, on this menu, and there's just the one in here for the moment, because I'm the only person who's bought from my site. So my name, where I'm based, the number of orders I've taken, but you can see clearly this is going to build up over time, and clearly you can do things like search for customers. But it's a little bit more involved than that, because although this is all, you get to see, for example, the new customers and the returning customers. You can imagine that repeat customers starts to become a very, very valuable prospect. We've got the abandoned carts that we talked about just now. Email subscribers. I'll talk about this a little bit more with apps, but gathering emails is a fantastic way to build out a surefire business. And also from France, so basically just giving me a bit of geo-localization. But that's basically what it is. If I had other customers from another site, I could import, and of course I can export this list should I ever need to. So, this is a very nice, very simple, very powerful way of keeping track of all of your customers. So if you look at this menu now, we've made amazing progress, right? We've looked at orders, we've looked at products, we've looked at customers, and we just had a look at discounts. Now we're going to be looking at apps in great detail coming up, okay? But the only thing left, I would just like to have a little talk about is analytics, all right? Analytics, all that great stuff, all those stats. So if we click on that now, you will see that we have stats and analytics forever, all right? And so let's go through this a little bit. We got total sales, We've got total online store visitors, the repeat customer rate, online store conversions, average order values, total orders, top products by units sold, etc., etc., etc. You know, a massive amount of stats, all right? Now, as you develop your store, as things build up, you're going to find that some of these are far more useful than others. I mean, obviously, total sales is going to be key for you, all right? Things like your average order value you're going to be looking at intently as well. You know, there's going to be things that stand out as you go through, and all kinds of questions are going to start getting asked of your store. You know, where's the traffic coming from? Which one converts the best? What's the best converting traffic? You know, which one of our customers is the most profitable? Which one of our discount codes works the best? All this kind of stuff. You know, you can generate so many questions that often, if you had an experience of this, you can almost lose yourself in all the confusion. It's very, very important to step back from it all, in my view. I'm not going to do a course on how to analyze sales data and get the best out of it at this stage, but basically, in my experience, stepping back from it and keeping a good eye on the headlines, understanding the headlines is what it's all about. So that's when reports come in very, very handy. So if we click on reports here, then we can generate some great reports, okay, to do with sales, to do with acquisition, where stuff's coming from, to do with our customers, the behavior of our store, you know, the money coming in, obviously, the marketing, how well that's working, and of course the opportunity to create custom reports. So in the beginning, none of this is going to be of particular interest, but as your sales develop, as your business grows and grows and grows, you're going to basically get more drawn into the whole dashboard and reports section of Shopify. Now, there are even more ways of getting even more analytics, all right? For example, installing Google Analytics is something that people like to do as well. We looked at that in one of the preferences. I don't know if you remember, some time ago, there's a space there to put in the Google Analytics. But in my view, you really do have, at this stage at least, definitely for the first year or so, you have so much data here that Shopify has already laid on for you. I really wouldn't get bogged down in looking for other ways to analyze your data. In my view, it's all here, and I strongly advise you to make the most of it.